it's possible to run the game on a high-end system and not have too bad of a performance. For example, here's running the benchmark tool on my 5070 Ti and 9800X.
What? He's getting average of 80 frames on a 5070 Ti. Okay, so I have a plan. Guys. I have a plan. So, the plan is, alright, yeah, we got a plan. The plan is, we're gonna watch this one first, and then we'll watch how to optimize it. Is that good? That's great. And we're gonna add it all in the video, yeah. All together. We're gonna make a great video. So, I think that's the best video. Apparently, I mean, unless the people say so, so I'm gonna listen to the people. Monster Hunter Wilds PC optimization is awful. I wanna say, true, unreal.
Monster Hunter Wilds is hitting absolutely insane concurrent player numbers on PC, peaking at almost 1.4 million concurrent players. That's all playing at the same time. So sales are going to be many times higher than that. Capcom has made an absolute insane amount of money on the PC version of the game, which is gonna factor into why I'm so frustrated with the PC version of the game.
Why?
And I'm not alone. If we go to Steam and scroll through here, you'll see a lot of thumbs downs on the reviews. We're seeing overall mixed. 54% of the 36,000 reviews so far are positive. These are user reviews. And again, the vast majority of the thumbs downs are saying that the game itself is fine or even great, but that the PC performance optimizations are awful. If I just randomly stop here, horribly unoptimized, unintuitive menu systems.
But why the fuck, sorry for stopping, what the fuck do they got so many clown emojis on the bottom?
3 different friends list, etc. So just
who is cloning them?
With a variety of things,
They're
but again,
so
starting with unoptimized. Anyway, again, not recommended. Number 1 thing, performance and fidelity. So,
like,
yeah, there's a lot of frustration here.
So
is there anything to it? And does Capcom have anything to say? Well, Capcom has responded. So here is Capcom's first response to the criticisms of the PC performance. They say, Hunters, if you're experiencing any initial issues with Monster Hunter Wilds on Steam, please try updating your graphics driver, turning off compatibility mode, and then readjust your settings.
Compatibility
Thank you for all your
mode.
patience and support. That's it. That's seriously it. Now, if you're like, ooh, what are these more details? Not useful. It's just, again, basic troubleshooting things to make sure you're like installed correctly on your PC. In other words, it feels like they're trying to gaslight people into thinking that if you're having performance problems, it's a you problem. You didn't do something right. But that is simply
you didn't buy the RTX 50 series. It's your fault, man.
Not the case.
Get on with the times, Grandpa.
Also, like it's possible to run the game on a high-end system and not have too bad of a performance. For example, here's running the benchmark tool on my 5070 Ti and 9800X.
What? He's getting average of 80 frames on a 5070 Ti
at maximum 1440p settings. So 1440p, no upscaling. That's why it says custom. This is I turned off upscaling. It defaults to using upscaling no matter what. I've also turned off frame gen. This game really wants you to turn on frame gen. it's a little...
Yeah, no, I've realized this myself today, and you need to play with frame gen. It's not a maybe, it's you have to. Like, the game does not work without it. It runs and it turns on, but it's as if you weren't playing. How shit it feels.
little bit distressing that when you, it not only initially pops that up as the first thing you see when you start the game, but then also if you say no, it's like, really, are you sure? You can turn it on later. Don't forget, you can turn on frame gen, guys. No, it's not that I hate frame gen or anything.
I do. I hate it a lot. And I'll tell you this, now that I had it on, they've improved it a lot, alright? But I'm sensitive to input lag and frames. So I can definitely tell it doesn't feel the same.
I think if you have a high enough base frame rate, it can be fine. But according to their own system requirements, how they recommend you to play the game, they're recommending that you're using frame generation to hit 60 frames per second. Now that means that the rendered frames are only running at 30 frames per second in order to hit that 60. And that doesn't look good or feel good. AMD, for example, specifically recommends you have at least 60 FPS before enabling frame gen. NVIDIA's a little more cagey on what exact base frame rate they recommend, but if you talk to them about latency numbers and things like that, they're certainly not recommending a 30 to 60 FPS frame gen mode as ideal. This is not what frame gen does. Frame generation is a win more feature. It's best when you're already getting a good frame rate to then take advantage of a high refresh rate display. Frame generation is not performance, it's interpolation. It takes two frames that already exist and guesses what happened in between, so your monitor displays more images and there's a higher perception of motion fluidity. But the wider the gap between the two frames are, the worse its guess is going to be, so it looks worse, and also it doesn't increase performance. In fact, it has to buffer a frame in order to allow it to do the interpolation, so it delays responsiveness.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like when you move really slow, you really can't see it. But the moment you start like moving the mouse fast, bro, that you get lost on the sauce, man. You don't even know where you're flicking. It just like you can, the faster you move, the worse it feels.
If you're running at a high enough frame rate, those issues become pretty minor, and the increased motion fluidity is generally worth it. But it is simply unacceptable to say that you should be achieving 60 frames per second after enabling frame generation, the recommended way to play the game. It's quite frankly ridiculous that that's their recommended way to play. Also, keep in mind, that's already for an upscaled 1080p. So you're not actually even at 1080p, you're on the medium graphics setting preset, which I want to show you what that actually is. The medium graphics setting preset, which is what the mid-range system I threw together to test things out in, defaulted to, is literally enabling DLSS performance mode on a 1080p display. That means it's rendering at 540p internally and then upscaling that to a 1080p output. And despite that, it's still falling well below 60 frames per second if you don't use frame generation. Oh, and cards like the 3060 don't support NVIDIA's frame generation, so you'd have to use FSR version of frame gen if you were going to use frame gen at all, which means you would then be using FSR upscaling, which doesn't look anywhere near as good, especially when trying to come from 540p on a 1080p display. Here's what this looks like in actual motion with the game running. It's quite blurry, and again, my other issue is not that the game looks awful, but that it doesn't look particularly visually striking. It has a very washed out look, and there's really not anything just out of the ordinary impressive given this level of performance. So this is very frustrating. Again, you can try to power through this with an extremely high-end system. Here's the same scene running on my 5070 Ti, a 9800X 3D-based system, which is a multiple thousands of dollar PC at current pricing. 5070 Ti's are mostly over $1,000 right now. 9800X 3D somewhere around $500 or so. Plus, you have to build the rest of the system. So this is probably at least $2,000 plus system. And sure, you're able to achieve usually over 60 FPS at max settings at 1440p. But these max settings at 1440p, again, I would argue, given that we're still dipping below 60 FPS at times, are not at all
It's pathetic,
you know,
bro.
justifying the performance hit that you're getting. Because if you were running like a full path tracing mode, something like RT Overdrive in Cyberpunk or something like that, maybe I understand this level of performance. But a lot of this is just not that visually striking considering the performance that you're getting. What is the GPU doing here? Now,
yeah,
I'll be honest,
it doesn't make any sense that is this laggy. What the
I have had way less time than I would like to explore the full release version of the game because I'm one person and I am in the middle of working on graphics cards reviews because that is my main content. We've got the 5070, the 9070, and 9070 XT all launching in just a few days, and that means I've got a lot of benchmarking. However, I was curious what other people are saying about this. Digital Foundry absolutely knows what they're doing.
Hey, I was literally gonna watch this video.
So what did they think about it?
I was literally gonna watch this one.
Users complaining, it's just like, okay, you're trying to use ultra settings on a GPU that just doesn't have enough VRAM, stop whining, or something like that.
Yeah.
In this case, it absolutely seems justified. So it looks like in Digital Foundry's testing, if you try to boot up the game on an RTX 4060 paired with a 9800X 3D to eliminate people saying that it's just a CPU issue. If you're getting bad performance, it's just your CPU. This game is very heavy on the CPU, but it's also extremely heavy on the GPU, unreasonably so. He's showing massive repeatable frame time spikes throughout the initial run here on the RTX 4060 as the game defaulted to play, which is DLSS balanced at high preset with ray tracing off. And this is turning down to medium textures to try to avoid VRAM issues. He was already having even more issues when he initially started.
Sorry, I haven't heard of a game having VRAM issues in so literally so long, man. It's wild.
On the high textures, which is what it actually defaulted to, and then he calls into question that the game never actually warns you that you're over your VRAM capacity when you actually are. Also, the question is like, what is all of this performance going to when you look at things like incredibly blurry textures that don't look quite right? Looking at textures like this that seem to be decompressing improperly, this is supposed to be white, it's clearly not. And then just in general, looking at scenes where you're just, for the most part, staring at sand with a little bit of water, and yet overall performance is not great. What is the performance going for? And there's still these big frame time spikes. Again, that's on the high settings, but dropping down to medium textures,
it's unbelievable.
It helps, but still doesn't completely solve all problems. So in the end, this is one of the most aggressive headlines I've ever seen from a Digital Foundry PC review. Monster Hunter Wilds PC, profound performance problems must be addressed.
They have to.
Profound performance problems must be addressed. What is Capcom's response?
Bro, it's cause like, what the f***? Why would you... The engine of the game is the engine of Resident Evil 7. I went to the settings and you see that it has options for VR because the Resident Evil 7 game had the VR version, which is wild. They didn't give a f***. They just ported that shit and just built on top of it. Laziest fucking shit ever, man. I bet you the 8-year-old engine that they used to have on the Monster Hunters would have done so much better. An 8-year-old engine is insane. It's fucking ridiculous. Sorry.
Have you checked updating your drivers? Try turning off compatibility mode and then readjust your settings.
I'm gonna try all of
This is
these.
unacceptable. This is an unacceptable response from Capcom.
It is.
They should own the fact that PC optimization is not great. And the fact that they have this many players on PC, because keep in mind, over 1 million concurrent players. That's players signed in and playing the game all at the same time.
Yeah, that's sorry. How can
actual
It's fucking pathetic, man.
Are probably orders of magnitude above this. I've seen various people suggest different figures for how to estimate off of the peak concurrent players at launch to the actual sales figures.
That's estimates.
I've seen numbers saying that multiplying by anything from 10 to 30 is actually reasonable for getting what the actual sales figures are versus the peak concurrent players. Obviously, that's a pretty big range, but it's safe to say that Capcom has made a staggering amount of money off of the launch of this game on PC, and will probably continue to get more as more and more people keep buying the game. So this level of performance is completely unacceptable, and I would like a much stronger response from them regarding a promise of continued patching. Because first of all, I also want to say, I don't like the trend of launching a game in a state of poor optimization and then fixing it later. However, if you've already launched a game in a state of poor optimization, I would at least like some assurances that this problem is going to be worked on. The problem is, I'm wondering how much they can do, because we've seen other games like Dragon's Dogma 2.
One of the things that you should start doing is to remove all the stupid-ass clutter from the old engine, which was used for Resident Evil 7. You wanna build on it? Sure, whatever, you know, yeah, sure, build on it. But like, I literally just go into the configurations, like the little note thingy, the notepad. They still have shit that shouldn't even be there, like PR. Like, what the fuck, man? It feels like they just grabbed the engine with all the shit from Resident Evil 7 and they just build on top. It doesn't feel like they modified at all whatsoever for a like completely different game.
Using the same engine for an open world game, really struggling.
And I'm
However,
like, it might not give crazy results, but it'll at least be something, you know?
I hope they can do something, because a lot of this just looks bad. If you want more in-depth testing analysis, I highly recommend this Digital Foundry video where I mentioned a few of the things he noticed. But again, watch the whole video if you want a further analysis. I wish I had more time to dig into some further testing of my own. But like I said, I've got to get my head back into the...
Like this wouldn't, we don't really need to look that deep into it. I mean, we all see it. We're all looking at it. It runs like shit.
GPU benchmarking game, because I've got a lot of work to do, guys. But this is the state of Monster Hunter Wilds at release. It's not great. And I also, last thought, do not like that their benchmark tool is gaslighting you about the performance, because they'll spit out some number that's way higher than what you should actually expect if 2/3 of the thing isn't just cutscenes. Because they insert these cutscenes that run ridiculously higher frame rate than anything you're getting in actual gameplay.
Yeah,
so
of
actual
course.
gameplay performance numbers are way lower than what this benchmark spits out, because it spends a huge chunk of the benchmark run showing cutscenes, where it's not so relevant what your performance is in a cutscene. Matters what your performance is while you're playing the game. Now, I'm happy a lot of people seem to be enjoying the game, and there's tons of sales here. I just, it would be nice if maybe they take some of this money and use it to fund an extreme level of optimization work on this game on PC, because it's frankly unacceptable given the visuals that we're seeing. It's one thing if a game is difficult to run because it pushed incredible boundaries visually. This didn't do that. It looks at best okay, but the performance certainly isn't. Hope all of you still manage to have an excellent day, though.
Yeah, that's so true, man. That's pathetic. That's so sad, man. I can't believe it. It's insane. Cool video, though. Cool video. I liked it. I was to him. He put it to more simpler words, which is fine because gamers are not that smart, including me. So it really showcases how it is. I hope they fix it. Now we're gonna watch this one to see what we can do currently, since they don't seem to have like an answer to the performance per se. So I kind of want to say this for me myself because I've been streaming the game and I want to say that I like it. The game's good. Not my type again, really. But now that I managed to run it a little bit better, I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit more. So if we can really push that further, that'd be great. So we're gonna watch this one.
Monster Hunter Wilds is incredibly popular right now. The game is blowing up with over 1.3 million concurrent players on Steam alone, but it has a huge flaw. Wilds is unoptimized and the game is running poorly for a lot of people. And even many players with higher end PCs cannot reach high frame rates with good quality because of all of these optimization issues. However, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a couple of tools that you can use that will help you improve your copy of Monster Hunter Wilds and hopefully improve your frame rate. I will be going through a couple of different processes, some of which including downloading third-party tools, which I will leave a link to all of those tools below the like button, and I'll also be going through a few settings that you can change and a couple of other things that you can tweak on your own PC, just so you can get some better performance without having to install anything. So with that being said, hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero.
That's called Twitch Prime.
And let's get started. Now before you start messing around with your computer, you're going to need three things. First, you will want to turn on hardware accelerated GPU, which you can find by going into System, Display, and then Graphics. And then here under Advanced Graphics Settings, you're going to turn on hardware accelerated GPU scheduling.
That goes for every game, by the way.
The second thing
if you play games, you should be having that on to begin with.
Going to need is one temporary folder, which is going to be empty, as we are going to be downloading a few things and putting them on here before you delete them once we are done with the process. We're also going to need to have a folder open with the games directory, so the way to locate this is by opening up Steam, clicking on Monster Hunter Wilds, and go ahead and ignore my playtime, clicking here on manage and browse local files. So now that you have done these things, we're going to be downloading something called RE Framework. If you are at all familiar with downloading mods for Resident Evil, Dragon's Dogma, or any other Monster Hunter game, you'll be familiar with RE Framework, as it is pretty much mandatory to not only improve the overall performance of the game, but also allows you to change the script and add a bunch of different things such as reshades, mods, and whatever else that you otherwise would not be able to do. So yeah, you're going to go ahead and download the RE Framework by going here into Files and selecting Manual Download. Once the download is complete, all you need to do is open up this folder, and you're going to want to extract this DLL file into the games directory like this. I already have this, that's why I'm getting this pop-up, but for you, you should be able to do it just fine. And now that you have the RE Framework installed, we're going to go ahead and launch the game just to make sure that it is correctly installed. And as you can see, since we have this menu right here, it means that we have correctly installed the RE Framework. That is all we needed, so we can go ahead and quit out of the game. Now we're also going to be downloading a couple of additional software that is also going to help.
I think that basically what it will do is gonna be like a menu that edits the notepad from the game in real time. So I don't know, maybe not that useful, but we'll see.
Boost the overall FPS of the game.
I mean, it's useful if you don't know how to do it, right? But like, if you do, then
truth be told, the RE Framework is going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, as it really is a tool that does it all, and by itself is already going to help boost the overall performance of the game.
He's running at 75 frames,
so
by the way.
So just with the RE Framework alone, you should already see a noticeable improvement in the overall frame rate of the game. But if you want to take it a step further, then you can go ahead and follow the next instructions. In case you are wondering how Capcom feels about this sort of thing, is it considered cheating, and would they ban you for this? As many of you know, I have been covering the Monster Hunter games and how Capcom feels about mods for a very long time. And there was only a single instance in which Capcom officially talked about mods, which was during Sunbreak, the expansion to Monster Hunter Rise. So let me actually pull up my own video here. Let's see. The team have identified an issue around some save data on the Nintendo Switch version of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. The team have also identified that some players are illegally modifying game data for anomaly investigations. Accessing game data that cannot be achieved through normal gameplay can cause serious issues, including making the game unplayable. Be vigilant and avoid this content. And they made a special note regarding illegal mods. We have confirmed that some players are illegally modifying game data for anomaly investigations. We are currently preparing a separate notification regarding how to recognize.
Wait, what is something going on here? There we go. Thank you, man.
Illegally modified anomaly investigations, and again, creating or using game data that cannot be achieved through normal means can cause issues while playing the game and even make the game itself unplayable. So if you see any quests that you might think might have been illegally modified, please delete them immediately and do not try them out. Ultimately, while Capcom hasn't been very clear on their stance in regards to mods, they've never really actually went out of their way to punish people over it. So if you're simply using these kinds of third-party tools or mods to improve the performance of the game, or if you're using them for cosmetic purposes or even for some cheats, I guess, so long as that doesn't infringe on other players, I think that they are totally fine with it, because they don't want people ruining the experience for others, and I think that that is...
yeah, it is kind of like a single player game, so I guess...
it's respectable. I've personally always used mods in Monster Hunter World and Rise to give myself more options for layered armor and weapons, and especially in Rise I also used a mod that helped change my HUD layout because honestly it was a little bit of a clusterfuck. And again, I've never had any issues with it, I've never been DM'd by Capcom to not use any of these mods in my videos, so I wouldn't worry too much about this. And now we're going to be downloading a couple of softwares, one that is called DLSS4 and DLSS Swapper Glitch. To put it simply, Monster Hunter Wilds launched with an outdated DLSS, and with these two softwares we will be able to change the DLSS in Monster Hunter Wilds to the one that is currently updated. If you played Dragon's Dogma 2 on release, this was something that many of you probably also did to improve the overall performance of the game. So here we have the GitHub page of the DLSS Swapper, and we're going to go ahead and select the second one right here, the DLSS Swapper 1.1.6.2 installer.exe, and we're also going to be getting the NVIDIA Profile Inspector, which again you'll find in the description below the like button, and we're going to download the first one, the NVIDIA Profile Inspector revamp.zip. Now that you have downloaded the DLSS Swapper installer, you're gonna go ahead...
I feel like this could kill the game. Like if it updates, it could corrupt your files. I'm not sure
actually
though.
Install this, and since I already have it, I'm just gonna go ahead and click here on recently added and open the DLSS Swapper. And inside the DLSS Swapper, you're going to want to make sure that you have Monster Hunter Wilds right here. If you don't find the game here under the Steam tab, then you'll want to press Add Game right here. Press Add Game once again, and you're going to need to look for the games directory. So all you need to do is you copy and then you paste the games directory right here, and then select game folder, which of course I'm not able to do right now since the game is already here. That said, what you want to do now is come here on the left side to library, and you'll want to download 4 different DLL files from here. On the first tab, the DLSS, we're going to be downloading the version 310.2.1. On the second tab, DLSS frame generation, we're going to be downloading 310.2. On the third tab, FSR 3.1 DirectX 12, we're downloading the first one, and on FSR 3.1 Vulkan,
I'm gonna skip this one.
So we extract this folder. We're going
yeah, because I feel like this could break your game.
Copy the path here, run into that problem that is sorted. Again, you can simply open the wilds.exe and Monster Hunter Wild.
Oh, it's the same thing, right? Yeah.
If you
is that it?
Pressing insert once again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this could break your game.
Something else that you can do that can help boost your FPS is while you have the game open, you can go into your task manager and go down into details, and you look for Monster Hunter Wilds right here, and then you right click and set the priority to high. This will allow your PC to allocate more resources to the game, and usually allows you to get just a few more additional frames out of it. And also, if you want to make your game look more colorful and overall just look better, one thing you can do is download a reshade preset out of all of these that are already available on day one on the Nexus mod page, like I have done so myself. So this is the game without the reshade, and this is the game with the reshade. It's a very small tweak, but makes the colors pop out and look a lot better like this. And of course, you're able to fully customize these shaders in any way you want. On that note, you may also want to download the Fluffy Mod Manager, a mod manager that is commonly used for Capcom games, and it is very likely that most mods for Monster Hunter Wilds are going to be running with the assumption that you have the Fluffy Mod Manager, so you can go ahead and install it right away. Now, if after all of that your game is still underperforming, or if you simply do not wish to install anything to your game, then I'm going to walk you through
the part where you have to install it. I'm probably not gonna put it on the video because I feel like that could corrupt your game, your file. But yeah, other than that, really good. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna try Samurai myself and see how it goes, so... Yeah. It's really pathetic, man. It really is, really. It's so sad. It's so sad that the game runs like shit, because the game is great. I feel like the game is really good. The only problem is that it runs like shit. And that's annoying. And it shouldn't be like that. Bro, the moment I saw... Because I already know the game engine was built for like Resident Evil 7. That's the engine they're using on this one. But the moment I saw... I went to the config files. I saw options for PR, which Resident Evil 7 has. So that means that they didn't even modify it at all to port it on this game. Like they just built on top of it, man. Like what the It's sad. It's sad. So I really hope they fix this, man, because that's unacceptable at all, bro. It's just not acceptable. So we'll see. I mean, I'm new to this whole Monster Hunter thing. Maybe it'll get better. Hopefully. Otherwise, well, I don't think the game's gonna last long. I mean, the moment people just get everything done, they're gonna leave. I think that many people are gonna grind for that long with this frame problem. We'll see though. But yeah, what do you guys think?